Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber will continue to hear the testimony of the witness, Mr. Nieng Ui. And the greffier, could you report the attendance of the parties and individuals to today's proceedings? Ms. Jie Huang. Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. As for Nuon Chea, he is present in the holding cell downstairs, as he requests to waive his rights to be present in the courtroom. His waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The witness who is to continue his testimony today, that is Mr. Nieng Ui, is present with Mr. Muon Suwan, his duty counsel. There is a reserved witness through TCW 948. Thank you, Mr. President.
Wow.
President, thank you, Ms. Jie Huang. And before I hand the floor to the parties to put questions to this witness, the Chamber now decides on the request by Nuon Chea. The Chamber has received a waiver from Nuon Chea dated 10 March 2015. He confirms that due to his poor health condition, that is headache, back pain, and that he cannot sit for long, and in order to effectively participate in the future hearings, he requests to waive his rights to participate in and be present at the 10th March 2015 hearing. He has been informed by his counsel about the consequence of this waiver, that in no way it can be construed as a waiver of his rights to be tried fairly or to challenge evidence presented or admitted to this court at any time during this trial. Having seen the medical report by the duty doctor for the accused Nuon Chea at the ECCC dated 10th March 2015, the doctor notes that the health condition of Nuon Chea is that he has chronic back pain and that he cannot sit for long, and recommends that the Chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from a holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the Chamber grants Nuon Chea's request to follow the proceedings remotely from a holding cell downstairs by an audio-visual means for today's proceedings, as he waives his direct presence in the courtroom. The AV unit is instructed to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nuon Chea can participate in and follow today's proceedings remotely. I'd like now to hand the floor to the parties to put the questions to the witness. And yesterday the witness did not respond to the last question posed by the international co-prosecutor. And Mr. Witness, do you recall the question that you were asked yesterday? Because yesterday you did not respond as you requested to take consultation with your duty counsel. You may speak now, Mr. Witness. Witness. Mr. Co-prosecutor, could you please ask me the last question that you asked yesterday?
Certainly. When you asked to speak to your counsel, I had asked you about this document. We were discussing document E3-4093, where it indicates that children that cannot be separated from their mothers, bring them in, and then, when finished, sweep them all clean. And the widows sweep them all clean. And I'd asked you about that expression, sweep them all clean. During the DK period, did that mean executions?
Document that you refer to is E3/4093. Is that correct, Mr. Co-Prosecutor?
That's correct, Mr. Witness. And again, just so there's no question, I'll read to you again the two references to sweeping them all clean. In the first paragraph, it ends, "But if children cannot be separated from their mothers, bring them in for interrogation, and after everything is finished, to sweep them all clean." And the next paragraph, "As for the widows from Champang Tom Kang Chung, who are currently staying at the place of Comrade Meng, request to sweep them all clean." Sweep them all clean meant to execute. Is that correct?
I'd like to clarify the followings. First of all, as an assistant to the district committee, and Taron, who was at the sector level and who supervised Tramkot district, before I carried out any task, I had to seek approval from Taron first. So all the decisions were the decisions of Taron, and what I did was merely to write the decisions made by Taron. And yes, to sweep somebody clean, it means to execute that person. So once again, I reiterate that all the decisions were made by Taron, who was chairman of Sector 13, and Tramkot district was one of the districts under the supervision of this sector.
Was it the policy during the DK period that any order to execute had to be approved at the sector level?
The sector actually made a further request to the zone, but was at the zone level. Once there was a decision from the zone and the sector, then, in my capacity as an assistant at the district level, I wrote down that decision.
Thank you. So, in the DK period, who set the policies that defined who the enemies were? Who defined enemies?
In the study sessions at the zone level, the zone would make presentation about this policy.
When you were in Tramkot, do you remember Chim or Kit, or both of them, attending study sessions in Phnom Penh?
I recall the name Chum. As for Kiet and Kut, can you specify which name you refer to? The name Kiet does not ring a bell, but there was Kut, and this person, Kut, actually attended the study sessions in Phnom Penh.
Thank you. That's who I meant. Kut, who you had told us earlier had been on the District 105 committee, correct? The same person, Kut. The one who went to study in Phnom Penh was Kut, who was on the District 105 committee. Is that correct? Do I understand you?
Kut, who attended the study sessions in Phnom Penh, was a district secretary of District 105.
Now, when you were working in District 105, did anyone ever from the party, from the sector, from the zone, criticize your work or tell you that you were not following the policies of the party?
There was criticism raised during meetings held at the zone level. And that happens during the self-criticism meetings, and I was criticized during that meeting.
What were you criticized for? Can you explain that a bit? Were you criticized for not being tough enough on the enemies, for being too easy on enemies?
That is correct.
Cái tiên
I was criticized for the matter that you just mentioned.
Well, I don't want to use my words. Use your words. Please explain. What were you criticized for?
I cannot recall the details, but in your question, whether I was criticized or not, and in fact, I was criticized for not being tough enough with the enemy.
តែអីទៀតច្រើន
However, I must tell you I cannot recall the details of that criticism.
Thank you. Related to this document that we just looked at, you also talked about you were mistrusted partly because your family was in Phnom Penh during the Lon Nol period. Have you ever heard this expression during the DK period, something like weed out the enemy's roots and all?
ខ្ញុំអត់ធ្លាប់ឮ
No, I did not hear that expression.
Were people...
I was also a victim of the regime as my elder brother disappeared, and my brother, my younger sister, and my elder brother and his families only left Phnom Penh on the 17th April 1975.
Thank you. That's the point I'm asking you about. Were people suspected simply because of their family? For example, were children targeted because their parents were suspected of not being loyal to the regime?
បញ្ហា
I cannot say for certainty about the understanding of the party. However, personally, that was my understanding. It's because of my relatives who lived in Phnom Penh and who had to leave Phnom Penh on that day.
Did you ever hear an expression during the DK period, something like, better to kill by mistake than release by mistake?
ខ្ញុំអត់ដែលឮទេ
No, I did not.
Mr. Witness, my time is up, but I would like just to ask you to look at one photograph. It was something that the chambers put us on notice of using. It's E32415 005 04237. And perhaps it could be shown on the screen if that's possible. If I could, Mr. President, if I could have the witness get a copy of that photograph. Again, it's ERN 005 04237. Mr. President, may I have the witness be given a hard copy?
Yes, you can do that. And Mr. Co-Prosecutor, can you tell the chamber the ERN that you just read out, is it for the French, the English, or the Khmer document?
I believe it's only in English, and this is the book about the Swedish journalist's visit, Bergstrom book. There's no text. The only text says leaders of cooperative. Sir, I'm just asking, can you help us? Do you recognize anyone in the photograph?
This is the original picture. Yeah. Wow.
រូបថត
I recognize some people in the photo. The one that was standing and just in front of with the house at the background, that's myself. And the foreigner was the Swedish journalist.
Thank you. Do you recognize the tall man on the left of the photograph? Is that the former North Korean ambassador? DK ambassador to North Korea.
Well, that's a very leading question, isn't it? Could you just ask the question who it is?
Your Honor, I'm happy to end right now. Your Honors, I turn the questioning over to the civil parties. Thank you.
President, thank you. And the co-lawyers for civil parties, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, witness. Ordinarily, Mr. President, we should have an entire session. I'll try to be brief, but may I request the chamber to be flexible in the event of my not being able to complete my questions in the time allowed. Witness, good morning. I am Marie Giraud. I am counsel for the Consolidated Group of Civil Parties. I have a few questions for you. I would like to start with your role in Tram Kok cooperative from the time when you arrived there. Yesterday, you told the chamber that you played a technical role and that you were in the rice fields, you worked on rivers, in building canals. I would like to ask you to explain to us working conditions and living conditions of workers you encountered on the rivers and in the canal construction sites. My first question to you is as follows, witness. When you arrived in Tramkok and you visited those work sites, what were the living conditions and working conditions of those workers?
As for the working conditions for the mobile units, is that they started working in the morning from 8 to 11, and in the afternoon it was from 1 to 5. As for the food, they had a meal in the morning and a lunch, that is cooked rice at lunchtime, and then a dinner. And if they fell ill, we actually had a medic stationed at the worksite to assist in the treatment.
Merci, Monsieur le témoin.
Thank you, witness. You made mention of mobile units. Tell us, how many mobile units were under your jurisdiction? Can you give us the number of workers on those sites?
As to the number of workers in the mobile units, I can recall that, however, each commune and the Tramkok district had a male youth mobile unit and a female youth mobile unit, and each unit was headed by a chief for both, for the male youth unit and the female youth mobile unit. As for me, I usually discuss about the work arrangement with the units of the chief and also with those chief at the commune level. We usually held meetings to discuss the work plan and progress.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Were workers able to refuse to go to work? Did they have the possibility of refusing to go to work?
I never heard that anyone refused to go to work. However, if one fell ill, that person would be allowed to rest at a shelter or at a building adjacent to the work site.
Merci, Monsieur le témoin.
Thank you, witness. When you were on those work sites, did you see any workers who appeared to be malnourished?
No, I did not see that. Workers in the mobile units who were selected from the commune, they received food supplied from their respective communes. And if they ran out of food, then they would send people to go and fetch those food supply from the communes.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Last month, we heard a witness who appeared before the chamber to testify. His name was Sauhin. He worked at Tramcock Cooperative, and I would like to read out to you what he said regarding Tramcock. That testimony was E1/265.1 at about 9:40:26 seconds in the morning, and he was being questioned by the prosecutor, who asked this question: witness, how were people's health affected by the food rations? What was the situation, the health situation of workers? And he answered by saying, we did not receive enough food and meals, and then our health became weak. Some of them's bodies were swollen and they go to the hospital, and some disappear. How would you react to this testimony, witness, in which we gather that workers at Tramcock Cooperative did not have enough to eat?
I do not know about the statement that this witness said, or the period that there was a shortage of food in Tramcock district. I could say that by 1977, when I was there, the food supply of the food ration for people was sufficient.
Thank you. We also heard the testimony of another person who was working on the work sites in Tramcock Cooperative when you were there as well. This is Ms. Chukum Lang. She was heard on the 26th of January by the chamber, and I would like to read to you what she said regarding access to food in Tramcock Cooperative. And I will read an excerpt from the transcript E1/252. A free translation. This is at 11:52 in the morning. And the question was put to the civil party with regard to the food and with regard to the collective meals. And this is what Chukum Lang said to the chamber. With regard to common meals, we would work tooth and nail in the rice paddies. The fields were green, very green. Sometimes they became kind of golden. We were entitled to a spoonful of rice, soup, and corn soup, but we could say nothing. If we were still hungry, we could not say so. If, unfortunately, we said that we were still hungry, we could be executed for that, or we could be invited to a study session. So I wanted to know, witness, you who were present at the work sites and in the rice paddies in Tramcock Cooperative, if you have seen or heard workers complain about the lack of food, and if yes, what would happen to them?
Answer. As for food ration, actually the chief of the commune arranged the food supply and also food ration in the halls that we were eating. Actually the chief, perhaps they did not coordinate well. That is, so for this reason, there was not enough food for some people to eat.
Thank you. and I'm going to rephrase what was said to me in French. So you said that the coordination between the chiefs was not optimal. That is why there wasn't enough food. So can you explain to the chamber what you mean by the coordination among leaders was not optimal? Can you tell the chamber how the food was distributed in the commune or how the food was distributed in the district?
Answer. Actually, there was no distribution of food supplied in the commune or in the districts. In the commune and in the district, they grew their own rice. They raised their own livestock to support their respective commune and districts. In some cooperatives, as I said, the head of the cooperative could have enough food for workers to eat, but some heads of cooperative could not cope with the food supply, food ration. So, as I claimed, food ration was not 100% provided to workers in all cooperatives.
And when the food rations were not provided to all cooperatives, was there a system at the higher level to allow the cooperatives to feed the workers?
Answer. Yes. The district committee could get some food ration from some cooperatives to help and provide to other cooperatives which did not have enough food for workers.
How did you obtain that information? Did you attend district meetings during which this issue of distributing food was discussed?
Answer. I was an assistant, so I was in the meetings and there was such discussion as I said.
Thank you. During these meetings which you attended as an assistant, as you said, would people discuss the rice production quotas?
Answer. There was a report on rice production, and the report was about how many tons one village could produce. So there was a report on rice production.
Was there an objective? An objective that people had to meet? That is to say, an objective in terms of numbers of tons per hectare and per year?
Answer. There was propaganda for workers, for people to produce 3 tons per hectare. Some area could achieve such a quota, and some area was not able to achieve such quota.
Merci.
Thank you. You said yesterday that you were a rice farmer, a dry season rice farmer. So according to you, and given your expertise as a farmer, do you believe that this goal was realistic at Tramkok Cooperative?
President, please hold on, Mr. Winner. You may proceed, Victor Kope.
Thank you, Mr. President. I object again to this line of questioning. The fact that the witness has said that he has a background as a rice farmer doesn't necessarily make him an expert or able to give an opinion as to the possibility that this is a realistic goal, yes or not. There are many factors to take into consideration whether such a thing or whether such a quota is in fact reasonable or not. So asking him on the basis of him being a rice farmer will not be helpful, and is basically asking an opinion of expertise which he doesn't have, despite the fact that he was himself a rice farmer.
May I please answer, Mr. President? Since our colleague Kopi already made this objection a few weeks ago when Sao Hin was present here, and the prosecutor had put to him a question, and our colleague made the same objection, it was overruled, and he considered that since Sao Hin back then had been a farmer, that was enough for him to provide an opinion with regard to the fact that the quota was realistic or not. So I would simply like to continue with to stand by what you had decided before, and to allow the witness to answer based on his experience as a farmer.
President, the objection of defense team for Mr. Nunjie is overruled in relation to the last question put by international legal lawyer. Mr. Winner, you are instructed to give your response to the last question put by the international legal lawyer. The chambers needs to hear your testimony.
No.
Answer. In Tramkot district, there was a goal in relation to dry season rice farming in Bang Ongko Borei. And there was also a plan in relation to rice farming in the upper parts of Tramkot district. So the goal was achieved at Viel Bang Kampong Ampel Angko Borei. And as for the Tramkot district, some area could achieve 3 tons per hectare, for example, at Bang Srai Nonong at the intersection of Baiku Street. As for Chiang Tong commune, from Ong Ta Saom to Tropang Andak, 3 tons were achieved. However, in some other areas, the plan or goal was not achieved in relation to the 3 tons per hectare. In Liekbo, we could achieve a 3 tons goal. The area from the west of Takao provincial town to Ong Ta Saom, that is the irrigation 68 area could achieve 3 tons per hectare.
And what would happen when the communes or cooperatives would not reach the goal that was set?
Answer. There was nothing happening.
So why would people set goals if nothing would happen when these goals were not met?
វាមាន
Answer. In some areas, goal was reached. But in some cooperatives or in some commune, because of the soil was not so fertile, we could not achieve the goal. We need to use the fertilizer. But if the goal was not reached or achieved, there was no any punishment. If we could not achieve 100% objective, and then there was no punishment.
Thank you. And you said earlier on today that at times food would be lacking, and I wanted to know if you had experienced this personally when you were at Tram Kok, if you saw people who stole food in order to feed themselves.
ខ្ញុំអត់
Answer. I never encountered such incidents.
Thank you. I would like you to react to the interview of a lady you said you knew and with whom you worked at the district, Madame Byrne. And I would like to read out what she stated with regard to the theft of food in the interview she gave to the investigating judge. And this is document E319/12.3.2. E319.2.3.2.
មេធាវីកុងវ៉ាន់បាទសូមអរគុណលោកប្រធានខ្ញុំ
President, you may proceed, counsel for Mr. Kirsampon, counsel. I do not have any objection. However, I would like to draw the chamber attention concerning the reference of names concerning some witnesses, because some witnesses the request for protective measure are granted. We need to be mindful of this.
Je parle sous le compte.
Well, it doesn't seem to me that this person made any specific protection requests. This person's name was brought up in an open way by the prosecution. So if the chamber, of course, would like me to silence this person's name, that's not a problem. I'm simply going to refer to the number E319/12.3.2. And I'm going to refer to question and answer 147 to 149.
Mr. President, just
President, you may proceed, Mr. Kope.
excuse me, just briefly, Mr. President. Now I'm getting confused. Are we now allowed to use the names of future witnesses, or aren't we? I mean, I'm very happy to do so, but I thought with my colleague that we weren't allowed to do it. So could you please give us a clear ruling on this?
Il me semble, juste pour...
Well, just to react.
Est-ce que, Monsieur le Président...
Mr. President, may I respond? Apparently, this person had been chosen by the prosecution to testify, but that the chamber had not yet given an answer with regard to this point, so I would like the chamber to decide on this.
President, to clarify this matter in our proceedings, as for the individuals to appear before this chamber to testify, the chamber would like to request all parties to use pseudonyms, and in case such individual do not have any pseudonyms, I request all parties to refer to specific documents, and I also remind parties to comply with the confidentiality. You may proceed, Judge Laverne.
There might be a translation issue here. What the chamber would like is when a party is in the list of witnesses and when this party has not yet been heard publicly, then we have to refer to this person's pseudonym. If a witness has already been proposed as a new witness, which is the case here, then you should say that I am referring to the person who was heard in document so and so, and then provide the references of that document.
C'est très clair.
That's very clear. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Your Honor. So I will not use any pseudonym because this person does not have any, and I will simply refer to the document whose index I already provided. That is to say E319/12.3.2, and I am referring here to question and answers 147 to 149. And this person witness, you told us you knew this person and that you would work with this person at the district level, and this person is questioned about the crimes committed during the Democratic Kampuchea period, and this person says, and I'm going to have to quote in English because this document has not been translated.
Or small amounts to eat was a minor crime. Je voulais vous faire réagir.
So, can you please react to this? Were you aware of the fact that back then the fact of stealing food was considered a crime?
God
Answer. This individual and I were living in different places. She was living in Chiang Tong and I was living in Lê Bo. And if there was an incident concerning stealing food, the individual concerned would be reprimanded in the commune or in their areas for a few times. And I was not fully aware concerning the incident of stealing food. And as I said, if there was a minor case concerning stealing food, the person was reprimanded. There was no serious punishment.
And were these issues of stealing food brought up during the district meetings which you attended as an assistance, as you said to us, as you've been saying to us since yesterday?
Answer. I heard the discussion of these issues in the meeting of district committee and commune committees.
And what kind of discussions would you have with regard to this issue at the district level?
មានការប្រជុំមានការ
Answer. There was a meeting between the district committee and village chiefs to discuss the issue of stealing food, and they also discussed about the measure to be taken against those offenders, and they were reprimanded. There was no serious punishment for those who stole the food.
And at the district level, in the meetings you attended, was this issue of thieving of food tied to the lack of food that you described to us a little earlier on?
Pour être très clair, est-ce que...
And, well, to make things clear, do you think the workers stole food because they were hungry?
I object, Mr.
President, you may proceed, Victor Kope.
Thank you, Mr. President. I object. This is a very speculative question. If we're talking about a very concrete case, maybe. But what the potential thieves were thinking is beyond the realm of the capacity of this witness.
We're not asking the witness what he thinks about what the thieves thought back then, but we're asking him about what he thought about the situation, and if he made a connection between the lack of food, which he described a bit earlier on, and the fact that people would steal food. I think that this is a legitimate question that might shed light.
President, the objection by the defense team to the last question posed by the international lead co-lawyer for civil parties is sustained. because this question will lead to a presumption by the witness, and the lead co-lawyer for civil parties, if you wish to ask that question, please rephrase it or put it in another form. And Judge Lavance, if you wish to make further comment on this issue, you have the floor.
Oui, il y a peut-être eu un point.
It may well be a problem of interpretation. The question asked, at least the way we understand it in French, is aimed at finding out from the witness whether during meetings he attended at the level of the district, he heard explanations given regarding reasons for which certain persons stole food. And these reasons included the fact that some workers were hungry. Counsel Giraud, have I properly understood your question? Is that the question you wanted to ask the witness? Absolutely, Mr. President. I can rephrase it or repeat it. Witness, during meetings held at the level of the district, which you attended at the time, or during which, as you told us a while ago, the question of theft of food came up. Among the reasons given to explain such theft, do you have the fact that the workers were hungry? Was that one of the reasons given?
There was an explanation to the fact that this event could rise in the cooperatives or at the commune where the produce was not sufficient. They also provided the reasons for stealing. For instance, some of them stole food because they were hungry.
Merci.
Thank you. And when people attending these district meetings heard those explanations, notably that some people stole food because they were hungry, what were the discussions you held and what solutions did you propose to resolve such issues?
I already stated that for the area that did not have sufficient food or produce, then the area which the surplus of food would share the surplus with those with the areas that did not have sufficient food. However, this could not go on forever.
Donc, ce que vous nous dites, si je...
So if I understand what you're saying correctly, to remedy that situation, decisions were taken at the level of the district with a view to sharing food in such a manner that some quotas or rations were respected, whereas others weren't. That is, some people received proper rations and others didn't.
Yes, that is correct. However, even with the food given by other communes to the area with insufficient food, it was still not sufficient, but at least it would help those areas.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. It therefore transpires from your testimony that in some zones, in any case, in Tramkok, there was sometimes a shortage of food. Was such information communicated to foreign delegations that visited you in Labour commune and over which you had responsibility?
I met with the delegations and I did not speak on this matter with them, that is to the Swedish delegation and through the Chinese delegation. And neither one of the two delegations asked me about this issue. Mainly they asked me on other issues, and one issue that I recall is that whether it's a Cambodian culture that women would go to ask for the men to get married. And I said, no, it's the other way around, and that's what happened in Cambodia. And I already spoke about the meeting with the Chinese delegation, and I think I mentioned it rather in details in my written record of interview with the OCIJ investigator, and also in my responses to the International Court prosecutor yesterday.
Absolument, Monsieur le témoin.
Absolutely, witness, and we thank you for the clarifications you made yesterday. You told us that you were in charge of foreign delegations, including the Swedish and Chinese delegations that visited your sites. I would also like to know whether you received delegations of high-ranking personalities who are members of Democratic Kampuchea, the Democratic Kampuchea regime.
As for senior leaders of Democratic Kampuchea, they did not come to visit the Tramkot district, and I never received them there.
Je voulais vous faire réagir.
I would like you to react to a testimony we heard earlier in this hearing on the 26th of January 2015. A civil party testified. That civil party was at Tramkot Cooperative and worked at Libo. That is Mrs. Chukum Lang. That civil party gave a testimony which I would like to read out to you so that you may react to it. It is the transcript number E1/252.1, and it is at 11:59. That civil party recounted a visit by Pol Pot, Nuon Chea, Kyo Sampan, and Tamok at Libo. And she said at 11:59, I saw them in 1977. I do not remember the exact month. It is possible that it was in February, March, April, or May, but that was a long time ago. Those leaders were in a car. They stopped at Kulchambak region. They looked at us carrying earth. The commune committees and head of the unit were with them. Witness, may I know whether this testimony by Chukum Lang reminds you of anything?
Chu Kamlon stated that this event took place in March or April. But let me clarify that, as I stated yesterday, I arrived in Tramkot district probably in June or July of 1977. So if this statement was true, it means it happened prior to my arrival in the district.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. I would like us to talk about another subject now. I would like you to explain the role of the militias.
President, thank you, lead co-lawyer for civil parties. It is now convenient to have a short break. We will take a break now and return at 10:30. And court officer, please assist the witness during the break time and invite him, including his duty counsel, back into the courtroom at 10:30. The court is now in recess.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ